Hey, this is Rob with Road Dirt, and look what we get to play with for a month. Stay tuned. This Road Dirt presentation is brought to you by Law Tigers, motorcycle lawyers. Find them at lawtigers.com. Hey, this is Rob and Phil with Road Dirt, and we are out in the country here with this beast. It's a 2021 Triumph Rocket 3R Black. It's a limited edition. They're only making about 1,000 of these, I understand, and selling them around the world. But we both have had a chance to ride this a bit, and obviously because of our size differences, we've got some pretty interesting perspectives on it. So Phil's the one that's been the risk this afternoon. What are your impressions so far?
You know, I come off of a couple different Harleys, and I was pleasantly surprised, Rob. Really, this bike, first of all, is ultra smooth. Of course, anything other than a Harley is pretty going to be smooth anyway, right? But the transmission clutch performance is just butter. It really is ultra smooth. Working your way up through the gears is super simple. It's clean. There's a nice gentle click in the transmission. They've done a phenomenal job with the drivetrain. And of course, it's the first time I've really ridden a bike with a drive shaft versus a belt drive or a chain drive. So it's just been super amazing. So a couple other things I've noticed too. You know, I had a Fat Boy that I've recently just sold to someone in Texas, but it had the real big tires on it, much like this bike does here, although the front tire on this one's a little bit smaller than the Fat Boy was. But it does turn delightfully simple. It wants to get tucked into a corner, and it wants to kind of just shoot itself out. A few tight corners I've been in on it so far, it really felt almost like you were bashing a berm in a dirt bike. You know, I mean, you kind of it tucks itself into the turn, and then the power band is there, and it is so broad and sweet that even if you're coming in a high gear like fifth, the power's there. It really is. You know,
it's been a remarkable ride. So, let me see. We'll give a little bit of some of the specs on it. It's a 2,500 cc motor. I mean, that's the largest production motorcycle engine anywhere in the world, and I think it makes the most torque of any motorcycle engine in the world as well. If I remember the spec sheet on it, it puts 163 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. Overall horsepower is, I think, a little over 165. It's like 165.6, something like that in horsepower, and yet this thing has lost 100 pounds over the previous generation you know, the Rocket 3. When I first was riding this, I honestly was intimidated by it because, I mean, I'm all of 5'8", 150 pounds soaking wet. And I got on this thing and I'm just thinking, this monster, I don't know if I can ride this. But when I lit out on it and took off, like you, I found it was so smooth. The shifting was smooth. The roll-on was smooth. Even the braking, these Brembo brakes front and rear, just super smooth for such a large bike. It really takes out and eliminates the intimidation factor, even for a small rider like me. So, well, we're going to take some shots out riding it. Phil and I both taking turns on it, and give some of our impressions of how it handles out on the road.
No doubt. Indeed, the best part of this bike is getting to ride it.
Oh yeah, baby.
It wants to go so fast in a straight line, it's unbelievable. I mean, I really would compare this to the speed of the Harley Livewire electric bike. As far as that bike is like 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, this has got to be close to 4 seconds. I mean, it is so quick off the line. It is amazing, but it's smooth, so you really don't feel like you're going that fast.
Yeah, it's not like head snapping. As you get on it, I mean, you know, you feel like you're in control. It's not like a monster, a dragon that's going to take off and throw you off the back. I mean, everything it's massive, it's hugely powerful, but it's under your control, which for a little guy like me, I found very reassuring. So,
and the single
excellent.
swing arm is so sexy. I've just got to say this. The
yeah,
design
check
notes
this
for me
out,
are
baby.
just amazing. But just to be able to see the full rear wheel, I think it's super slick. And the design cues on this bike are on point. Triumph has hit a home run with this bike. Yeah, and it's a shame they're only making 1,000. That's all I'm going to say.
Now they do. If you haven't seen it, they do have the R in red with chrome and brushed metal, and it's equally beautiful. But to see it in matte black, everything blacked out, it's quite extraordinary. So
Super nice.
let's go ride, man.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I tell you, this bike is just super smooth, surprisingly so for how massive it is. I mean, for a bike that I thought I'd be a little apprehensive about riding it, I've got no apprehension on this thing now. The shifting is so smooth, the clutch is so smooth, the roll-on, throttle roll-on is just so in control. It's a monster. It's a torque monster of a power plant, and yet it's all at the wrist. It's all, you don't feel like it's going to overwhelm you and take off. It's a very manageable beast, that's for sure. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Phil has had a blast on it. It fits him like a glove. It's got a little bit of a reach forward to the bars, and the bars are a bit wide for me and my arm length and everything. That's the only thing that's kind of uncomfortable about it. But man, the brakes are spot on. These Brembo brakes, coupled with ABS and traction control, make for a very controlled ride, even in emergency stops. And man, just phenomenal. It's been fun for me, even with these gigantic wide tires, just throwing this bike through corners. I mean, it's, you know, it's not a sport bike, not a super naked or anything like that. Not even my Triumph Bonneville, which is obviously contact patch on smaller, narrower tires, is smaller, much more flickable. But man, for a massive tire, these 250s on the rear, 180 something on the front, and the overall mass and weight of this bike, this thing just dives into corners with ease. And I'm scraping foot pegs as we go, both sides. It dives in and powers out like a bike half its weight in size, in tires and in girth. Phenomenal ride. I'm really pleasantly surprised by how this power cruiser handles. And that's what it is. It's a power cruiser with the emphasis on power.
Well, there you have it, the Triumph Rocket 3R Black Limited Edition. This thing has been a blast to ride for this past month, man.
I wish we could keep it.
Oh, I know it, man. Please, maybe a little longer. What would have been your riding impression? I mean, we're riders coming from two different sizes, so we get two different perspectives on it. But what have been some of your thoughts on it, having ridden it as much as we have now?
You know, my first concern was being 6'2" and being used to being kind of spread out on a big Harley bagger type bike. I was concerned because I've never had success on some of the smaller bikes we've reviewed.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we've had the Meteor and we've had the Himalayan and the Commander, all from Royal Enfield, and I was way too big for those bikes, in my humble opinion. I just, you know, obviously power was an issue, but I was just physically a little bit large. I was kind of interested to see how it fit on the bike, first of all. And surprisingly, I fit really well. The rider position was comfortable for me. I'm not sure that I could make a lot of long distance rides, but a 2-hour trip to the mountains for a great lunch and, you know, some curvy roads coming back, I'd have a blast on it. The bike is just super smooth, very comfortable. It just on command, a blip of the throttle and you have power right there. You know, a lot of it. In a straight line, a few minutes ago, we just took it a skosh over 100. We may have to edit that out.
Yeah.
We may have to edit that out before Mom sees that. But yeah, straight line speed, no question. Fastest out there, just super fast. And in the turns, it really is nice and snug. It really is comfortable. I tend to be a little apprehensive on a new bike in the turns, but this I really kind of dropped in and got really comfortable quickly, you know.
Yep.
And it felt good. It really felt good. And again, the rider position was great. I love the look of the bike, the overall look of the bike. I mean, we were in town a little while ago for some still shots that'll be in the article, and it was parked on a corner and people were just stopping and gazing at it and loving up on the bike. So I've had a blast with it, and you know, I'm looking to eventually do another kind of a round town bike, bar hopper type bike, and this would definitely be in the running for me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think for me, being 5'8" and a little over 150, like I said at the beginning, I was somewhat intimidated by the bike, thinking this is way too much motorcycle for me. You know, it felt like you know, half a Boss Haas engine or something. And yet I got used to it so quick and felt comfortable on it so quick. I kind of surprised myself as to how easily I felt like I settled into a groove with it, because of all the things you said. I found the roll-on very, very smooth. I found the shifting butter smooth. I found it handling, even with these massive tires, it just dove into corners with ease, and the throttle roll-on I felt like was not overpowering. It was nice and steady, but you could tell you were riding a monster. Only that monster was at your beck and call. And I think the only thing for me that was kind of a downside was the fact, because of my height and everything, I felt like the handlebars were a bit of a reach and they were a bit wide for me. I would probably put, you know, risers on it or a different set of bars that would kind of bring it back a little bit more to make it a little more comfortable. But the riding position that you're in is I mean, it's not built to be, you know, at this configuration, a long distance cross-country rider, although, you know, we know our friend Fabrizio that did ride one across the country. And yet for a roadster, what I call a roadster, or a, you know, some call it a power cruiser, things like that, it is a very compliant, very easy to ride monster of a bike. We once said about one of the other Triumphs, the Street Triple, that the beauty is a beast. This one, I would say the beast is a beauty.
That's a good point.
Most definite.
It's definitely a power cruiser. For me, the bars, the width of the bars was not a problem. I would have liked them to sweep back a little bit more myself, because I like a more of a cruiser position. I was a little bit more forward in the position riding, but you just kind of wanted to be there anyway, based on the speed. You know, you felt good, and you can relax on the bike. You can certainly sit back a little bit if you want to and relax on the bike a little bit. But yeah, it's just been amazing. I would have never guessed the tranny would have been that smooth.
Yep.
You know, just general shifting in general, the clutch and shift transition from gear to gear is so smooth. It's the smoothest I've ever felt on a bike.
Yeah.
You know.
Me too, I think. At least of one of the larger bikes, most definite. So, Well, if you'd like to check one out, you can check out all the specs on it, all the other details on the different Triumph Rocket 3R bikes. There's an R series, there's a GT series, and you can check all of them out at triumphmotorcycles.com, as well as on their social media pages. And find a Triumph dealership nearest you. They may or may not have the Black Limited, but they'll have probably the red 3R, maybe a couple of the other models, some of the base GT models. Take one out for a test ride. This is a different Rocket 3 than the last generation.
Actually, Rob, if I could interrupt.
Yes, sir.
It's so different that in the opening video, we called it a 2021. This is actually the 2022 model. So definitely check out the latest version of the 2022.
And these will be the ones that, the 2022 will be the ones that will be only 1,000 of the Black Limited that'll be made available around the world. So
beautiful bike. It's been a blast.
Big time, serious blast. Well, this is Rob and Phil with Road Dirt. Ride light.